All right, ready? Good evening. Welcome. We are beginning the public hearing on the fiscal year 2027 budget. And we will start with those wishing to speak in favor of the budget. Is there anyone here wishing to speak in favor of the budget? Anyone in favor of the budget? Last call for anyone in favor of the budget. All right, we will close that portion of the public hearing and open the portion of the public hearing for those wishing to speak in opposition to the fiscal year 2027 budget. We do have one name listed. The rest are listed under open mic, which we will do next. But the one name listed is Stacy Barrett.
Hi, my name is Stacy Barrett. I live at 17 Shirley Road in Lynn, and I have been a Lynn Public Schools employee for 22 years. For 22 years, I've been a strong advocate for my students, and today I'm here to advocate for my son. As a parent, I don't see budget cuts as numbers on a page. I see them as teachers in my child's classroom and in his school. When schools reduce the number of student-facing educators, it directly affects the attention and support my child receives every day. Larger class sizes mean my child has to compete for time, help, and guidance. In the early years especially, when children are learning how to read, build social skills, and develop confidence, those one-on-one moments with a teacher matter. Losing educators means losing those moments. What's even more concerning is that the cuts are not often being applied equally. While teachers and student-facing staffs are being reduced, administrative positions are remaining intact. As a parent, that's very difficult to understand. The people who work directly with children every day, the ones who teach, support, and build relationships, are the ones being lost, while those further removed from the classroom are not facing the same reductions. Beyond academics, schools are places where children should feel safe, known, and cared for. When educators are stretched too thin, it becomes harder for them to build these strong relationships that help children strive. As a parent and a teacher, that's heartbreaking because I know how much those connections matter. I understand budgets are complicated, but decisions about funding should always come back to one question: what is the best for our children? Reducing the number of educators working directly with students is not what is best. Our children deserve classrooms where they are supported, encouraged, and given every opportunity to succeed. And that starts with investing in the people who teach and care for them every day. So please keep your promise. The promise that you all made at the budget forum held at Breed, the school committee forum held at Breed October 7th, 2025 to cut downtown administration before cutting any student-facing positions. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition to the budget?
Good evening, Phil O'Connor, LTU President, 49 Monroe Street. I just want to make a point of clarification. I believe the folks that signed up for the open mic were misinformed or misunderstood and meant to sign up for opposition or in favor.
That's fine. I'll just keep calling.
We'll just keep going then?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So I'll just continue with my testimony. Is that all right, Mr. Mayor? Okay.
Yeah.
So as has been made clear over the last several weeks, we've taken some issues with the proposed budget, and we understand that some of the positions that have been closed are currently open. The issue that we have is that there's a sentimentality behind it. I know we are a data-driven district. However, the idea that these positions would not be filled, or at least tried to be filled eventually, is something that really concerns not just myself, but my greater membership as well. Our members work tirelessly day after day, doing more with less in the hopes of getting out of the bottom 10%. We understand what happened a couple of years ago with the KIPP expansion campaign, and we don't want this to happen again. And I am proud of the way the city came together as a result of that. However, we need more resources. This is why we've taken collective action together. We understand that we're trying to do the best that we can right now. However, it must be equitable. Expanding the resources at one single location, a location that we have supported as a union in the past too through a donation, is inequitable considering the status of the other two high schools, classical and English, that are currently in turnaround status. We want to be able to be equitable for the entire district, and that starts with the budget. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Do you want me to just call the open mic people in the order they signed up? All right, we'll do that. If you could state your name and address, Michael J. Curley.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. I've got this down to about 3:15, so work with me, will you please? All right. I'm back again. Good evening. Thank you for listening to us. When you guys ran for school committee, all of you, why'd you do it? That's what we want to know. Did you run for school committee so you could approve a budget that would work best for the students of Lynn, or not? How can you look us in the face and suggest that you will absolutely protect student-facing staff and then vote to cut the positions of more than 24 student-facing humans? In that group are some kids' favorite teachers, some kids' only reason to keep trying, some kids' only safe adult. When you cut student-facing positions, you hurt the students. I don't think that's why you ran for this office. I cannot stress enough the issues on the grounds of the schools in the city. Even with the diminished populations, our schools are still overcrowded. I work with a teacher who was excited that the heat will be off soon because his room is in the 80s daily. And it is not even a room, it's a small cafeteria. Cutting student-facing personnel will not fix that. I work with a teacher who has 28 years left and cannot see themselves continuing for that kind of time based on the emotional toll this job can take. This budget further guts our socio-emotional and guidance staff. Cutting these departments is a mistake when the overall mental health of our students is at best a struggle. Our students' behaviors are a constant concern, and these are the people tasked with managing those same students' mental health. These people are responsible for significant face time with our students. As it is, our students come to class late. Our A&F blocks in the high school level have significant problems with chronic absenteeism, tardiness, and their own emotional regulation. It is frequently a fight just to get them to wear the IDs that are so important for campus security. Taking away student-facing SEL staff will only exacerbate these problems. If you have not been student-facing since the pandemic, you have never been student-facing. You promised us. We expect you to keep the promise. Schooling happens face-to-face. It is a profession that requires trust, empathy, and investment. If you cut our student-facing personnel, we lose everything they've built with every student with whom they've built it. Frankly, I don't want anyone to lose their job. I don't want to fire anyone downtown. I don't want any student-facing staff to be cut. But losing 30 student-facing staff members, losing 30 people who have connections with the students of Lynn, connections in their schools, will not help us get out of turnaround or help any of the significant issues we have on the ground in the schools. It will only make things worse. In fact, elementary enrollment is up, and this budget slashes 11 positions at that level. We know difficult decisions have to be made based on decisions made far above the level of the people on the chopping block. But cutting 30 student-facing staff members is a cut too deep and a broken promise. It is diametrically opposed to the position each of you took when you participated in our candidate forum, when you promised us, you promised our students too. You ran for school committee, you met with us, you promised us that you would help us keep jobs so we could help students. We need student-facing staff to help us connect with and improve our students' overall outcomes. That happens in the schools, not in the administration building. Find your cuts elsewhere. Leave the student-facing population intact as you promised us you would when you wanted our endorsement. Why did you run for this job? Keep your promise, please. We are counting on you to be as good as your word.
So I'm realizing that some of the people that sign up for open mic are looking to talk about something other than the budget. So it's not going to work for me to just go down the list. So if you're looking to talk to the budget, just keep coming up. We'll just keep the no portion of the hearing open until everyone has a chance to speak who wanted to speak on the budget. So next up on the in opposition to the budget. Okay, you just state your name and address, please. Yeah.
So, my name is Abby Perez. I'm a junior from Lynn Classical High School. So this is a point of view who is directly being impacted by your guys' decisions. Let me start with what I wrote. But being here and seeing all of these people who don't agree with what you guys are proposing, it kind of angers me a lot. So this decision is more than just numbers on a page. It affects real students like me in real lives in our future. So I hope you guys realize that. Our social workers and our teachers are all trained professionals who recognize early warning. I'm talking about social workers right now, who recognize early warning signs and provide support for situations before situations become crisis. Without them, students may fail through the cracks and be left to face challenges alone, challenges they may never fully recover from. This is what the teachers and this is what our workers, social workers do. Today, students are dealing more with just academic pressure. We face mental health struggles, housing instability, family responsibilities, and social pressures. If this proposal moves forward and you guys decide to cut student-facing positions, it sends a clear message that students don't really matter in this point of view. Their mental health is not a priority. Does the future of our country not deserve your support? And do students like me not deserve support? Because you guys are willing to cut SEL, and I don't think that you guys realize how much they help us. These teachers are very underpaid, and you guys are willing to cut more of them out. And as a student who witnesses what they do every day, why is this even a discussion? These teachers work I hope you guys have kids who are in school because they need support. I get support from these people. These teachers, I have suffered so much, and I look up to these teachers. I talk to them every day, and I get help from them. So I really hope that you guys look beyond the budget and consider the real impact of this decision and invest in your students and protect the people who protect us as the future generation of this country. And that's all I have to say to you guys, and I hope you guys really listen.
Hi, my name is Sheila O'Neill. I live at 200 Locust Street in Lynn. I am, as you know, many of you, I am the former president of the local teachers union for 8 years. And throughout my tenure, we fought for increased funding through the Student Opportunity Act to improve student learning environment. To do so, we fought to increase staffing for all student-facing positions. Despite these gains, we are now faced with overwhelming funding cuts from the federal government. This means we need to refocus our attention back on what is best for students. As you know, in recent years, the district has attempted or successfully closed many student-facing positions, clinicians, department heads, MLE coaches. We fought back and continue to do so because students matter. Educators build relationships with their students and make a difference in their lives, as so pointed out by the student. As evidenced by the number of students who testified 2 weeks ago as well at this meeting and are here this evening supporting their teachers. As an educator, former parent, and current grandparent of an LPS student, I know how important the relationships built between students and teachers are to the success of the individual, the school, the district, and to the community. We must preserve the student-facing positions for all members of the student body. Thank you.
I'm Heather Lang, 43 Osgood Street in Salem. Amy is going to do interpreting for me, and I'm going to express mine in my native language. So,
Amy Rivera, 259 Lafayette Street, Salem. Good evening, members of the school committee. I'm speaking tonight because the decisions being made in this budget are not abstract. They will be felt immediately in our classrooms, in our hallways, and most importantly, by our students. If this budget is passed, what will all these changes look like in practice in our classrooms on day one next fall? When we talk about cutting student-facing positions, we are not just reducing numbers on a spreadsheet. We are increasing class sizes. We are reducing the individual attention students received. We are removing the very people who step in when a student is struggling academically, behaviorally, or emotionally. Let's be clear, these cuts will not impact all students equally. Students with disabilities, English learners, and those already at risk will feel this first and the hardest. These are the students who rely on specialized instruction, consistent support, and strong relationships with staff. When those supports are reduced, we are not just lowering the quality of education. We are putting ourselves at risk of failing to meet our legal and ethical obligations to them. This means we are at the risk of not meeting IEP minutes, accommodations, or service delivery requirements, which creates disproportionate harm to already underserved students, not to mention raising some serious red flags with DESE if and when our files get audited. We also cannot continue to say that student mental health is a priority while eliminating the positions that directly support it. Fewer counselors, support staff, librarians, paraprofessionals, behavior specialists mean more crises, more lost instructional time, and a less safe, less stable school environment. And this doesn't stop with students. When we cut support positions, we are increasing the burden on teachers. Larger classes, more diverse needs, less support. That is a direct path to burnout and ultimately to losing good educators. At a time when retaining teachers is already a challenge, this moves us in the wrong direction. I also urge you to consider the long-term cost of these short-term decisions. When we reduce early intervention and support, we don't eliminate the need, we delay it. And when it comes back, it is often more intensive and more expensive, both financially and in terms of student outcomes. So I ask, have all the alternatives truly been exhausted? Have we fully explored options that do not directly remove services from students? Because once these positions are gone, the impact will be immediate and the recovery will not. I urge this committee to pause, to reconsider, and to prioritize decisions that protect direct services to students. Our students only get one chance at their education. We cannot afford to get this wrong. Thank you, Heather Lang.
Hi, my name is Liz Hartzell. I work at Pickering Middle School, and one of the budget cuts directly affected the program that I work in. I work in their small group learning SLD program, where there are 4 teachers teaching these students their 4 core subjects, and each one has a support of a paraprofessional. It was the budget's idea to cut one of our paraprofessionals, who happened to be the one I work directly with, who I can honestly say had the biggest impact on these students' lives. And I can't imagine next year them coming back to school expecting to see this individual that they trust, that they spend from 6th to 8th grade with, and for them to not be there. I can't imagine how that's going to impact them emotionally, because there's been plenty of times where they say, this is my safe person. This is the person I know that I'll wait 4 blocks to tell a problem because I know they'll fix it. I know they'll help me. And as a teacher, I don't know how I would do my job, how I can support my students without them. Because her supporting me is also supporting the students. I'm able to teach and give them the support and stuff that they need. If she can take a kid out who needs a minute and we can continue the lesson with no disruptions, everyone wins. The kid gets what they need. She's able to help these students read, motivate them. Most of my students have severe dyslexia and ADHD and impulse control. She's the one beside them, teaching them, helping them, making them feel confident in their abilities. She's with them most of the day. And I think that you guys should realize the true direct impact that this is going to have on real kids, on real students, on real teachers. Because maybe it seems like a small job, it may seem like a small cut, but to me, they have the most important job. And they do the most work with the least amount of acknowledgement. They're the first people these kids typically see every day, and the last person they see when they go home. So I think you should truly think about what you would want a kid's school day to really look like. Who do you want there? Who do they need? What support do they need? What support do teachers need? But that's how you're really going to make a difference and improve the education of Lynn Public Schools. Thank you.
My name is Nikki Doucette. I live at 73 Gertrude Street in Lynn. I'm concerned with the new budget's allocations of resources. By cutting student-facing positions, we're directly impacting our students' learning. Multiple studies across the globe have proven time and time again that smaller class sizes have a positive impact on student learning and increases their test scores. Project Challenge, a sub-tier of the well-known Project STAR, was implemented in the 17 districts that had the lowest per capita income and the highest % of free or reduced price lunch. The gains from this piece of the study showed a 40% increase in reading and a 60% increase in math for these districts. Prior to the implementation, these smaller class sizes of 13 to 17 students, the districts were performing well below average in math. Not only did they improve, but they pushed them above average. This is a time for us to push through these battles. Gateway districts are already fighting an uphill battle when it comes to resources, buildings, and staffing. When we try to fight our way out of the bottom, why are we cutting student-facing positions, making our job even harder? Our contractual mandates are max caps for a reason. They should not be a norm. Smaller class sizes increase student engagement, increase instruction time. We spend less time correcting behaviors and more time on individualized learning. Thank you.
Hey everybody, I'm Michael Satterwhite, 41 Bridle Path Road, and I'm here to speak as a parent. I am a former school committee member, and I happen to be the husband of one of the school committee members currently, but I still have a position and I still have a voice that I want to use. So I wrote down some things. I didn't speak to anyone about it beforehand, but this really bothered me. You know, I've been through the budget process. I've been in your seats before. It's tough. This is even before we had the Student Opportunity Act money, and before we seen the growth that we've seen in the district, especially here in the central office, and that's why I'm speaking today. So before we consider any student-facing eliminations, we need to do a deep dive, because we often talked about audits in government, but that should also include Lynn Public Schools. I think an audit of the central office and non-instructional roles should be done, where it's targeted and it's not just broad cuts. It shouldn't be about cutting leadership blindly. It should be about role duplication and layering. I think that even when there's small central reductions, it can preserve multiple classroom roles, and we should seriously consider looking there first. We have to protect student-facing roles by restructuring systems, not classrooms. We have to keep teachers, the paras, the counselors, all those student-facing positions, and we have to look at cutting or redesigning how central office is run. That's what's important. We have a tremendous talent on the school level that with collaboration can help fill some of these gaps when we're looking to make cuts here at Central. We've been very creative in the past. When Deputy Fritz was a principal at Linwood, she was successfully able to also lead Sisson for a period of time. We've done other things where we were able to see our goals accomplished by being creative and looking outside of the box. But what I'm really tired of seeing is that there's always the best practice, what other districts are doing, and how they're succeeding in those particular areas. And then we have the Lynn way, and it always doesn't align. We can't be here, and our solution is to first cut student-facing positions. That should never be the way we address this. These kids deserve to be taught just like our neighboring districts teach their students. And it's not the case. They don't get the same full purchase curriculum like other districts do. And I say the same about police and fire. We're put in a position where we have the same expectations, the same mandates that the state provides to us, yet we don't have the same level. It's not equitable. So when we are looking to cut, we have to remember it's about the students. That's what we're looking at. When we're audited, we're audited to see if we're affording our ELs or our SPED students or 504 type students. And again, it's about the students. And if we're doing what we're doing under the law to meet those obligations. So eliminating student-facing positions is a no-go for me, and that's why I'm here to speak. Thank you.
Hello. Our teachers, nurses, clinicians, guidance counselors, librarian, and vice principals have worked to give us the education that we wanted for the last 13 years that we've been enrolled in school for. From kindergarten up until our senior year in high school, students have turned to these adults for help, guidance, wisdom, friendship, and strength. For years, our faculty has been taken for granted, and this committee has done their biggest part in making sure it stays that way. Control is what you hold over our schools and what happens to them, and control is what you have over our students and over our faculty. I am asking that you use this power and control that you all have to stop expanding schools, stop making new programs like CASA that are taking our teachers, which in turn makes our budget tight. Had you all had good intentions for CASA at the right time when there was funding for it all, there would be no issues all around and everyone could remain happy. However, this program is stealing teachers from many of the Lynn public schools. Personally, I can't even imagine how I'd feel as a senior at English if one of the teachers got removed for CASA. For the last 4 years of high school, if there was one thing I relied on, it was teachers. I've spent years making connections with the teachers who have altered my life in ways you couldn't even imagine. When I felt alone my freshman year, feeling as an angsty teen would, going into a new school, I had turned to a teacher who changed the way I saw life. Without her, I'd feel much more alone. I turned to many teachers for advice, even another teacher that had offered me wisdom and courage to keep going and find passion in science. I turned to guidance counselors for a laugh and to cry out my feelings. I turned to my social workers so they could listen. I can't even imagine what it would be like without them. I ask that you reconsider this decision, and although it is likely a decision that has been already set into place previously by others, it shouldn't have even crossed this table when you all spoke among each other. Our humanities teachers that venture from history to arts are not teachers to get rid of, as they are central to keeping students engaged in the world, themselves, and their future. So my question is, will you choose money over education? How can you make a decision of who has to leave and who gets to stay when every single teacher in this room has done their part, and now it is time that you've done yours?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Mohammed Jahan. I'm a senior at Lynn English High School and a member of the Neighbor to Neighbor youth team. I come before you today once again to share both appreciations as well as remarks on what I think could use deeper thought before being voted on today. I would like to start off by sharing my appreciation for Dr. Cohen and the school committee members for hearing our advocacy and the advocacy of the Lynn Teachers Union by reinstituting the funding of our librarian positions, as well as preserving the 8th grade music teacher at Lynn Tech's Discovery Program. We greatly appreciate how receptive you've been to our student body and our voices as a whole, all while we are excited to continue to forge that relationship with the district, where then student voice can be built more deeply into the budget process so many more students can be involved more directly. At the same time, as I'm up here today representing the Neighbor to Neighbor youth team, we are here to stand in solidarity with the Lynn Teachers Union in their advocacy for teachers and student-facing positions across the board, making sure that this can continue to be prioritized amongst your work. I hope you consider what I've said before about becoming a lifelong learner at the last meeting, because to me it is important to ensure that students and teachers can have proper relationships with each other, where students can feel supported by all of their educators. This is a crucial problem as we look towards not just this budget proposal, but also the coming one next year. Any teachers being cut means classes becoming larger for other educators in place of their position. It simply isn't fair to students, as they don't get to have one-to-one experiences with their teachers or the valued feedback as they would in smaller classes, which are more manageable not only for students but the same with teachers. So as I leave the stand in front of you today, I hope it can be taken into consideration that students and teachers' well-being and knowledge need to be the priority of what will be budgeted for this and the next school fiscal year. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Michael Lopez. My address is 294 Wentworth Avenue, Lowell, Massachusetts. And I swear what I'm about to say does have to do with the budget. But things are getting so heavy, I thought we might lighten things up a little bit. And I'd like to talk about what I'm going to do this weekend. I'm going to have a dinner party. And I'm very fortunate because I have a really big dining table. I can seat 14 people at my dining room table. And unfortunately, I have a lot of guests who have dietary restrictions. But I like to do my own cooking for when I entertain. It gives me a lot of joy. So, I think I'll be able to manage. Unfortunately, at the same time, I've been downsizing. And so just very recently, I got rid of all of my kitchen knives, and I threw away my spatulas, and I took out my stovetop and my oven and my microwave and that little choppy thing that you put the garlic in, that you get it all minced up so the smell doesn't get on your fingers. So I don't have high hopes for how the dinner party is going to come out. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Last week, the interim superintendent and her team came to Lynn English High School and spoke to us and gave us the encouraging news that our school is in the lowest 1% performance in the country. In this proposed budget, we are going to be losing 12 teacher positions.
3 of those positions are open, but it sends a signal that the district is prioritizing other programs over their largest schools and the schools that serve diverse needs and have the most need. In addition to those 12 positions, we're losing 2 admin positions, a program specialist and a guidance counselor. I'm not really sure how Lynn English can improve accountability metrics while being expected to do more with less. It's kind of like trying to cook a meal for 14 people when you don't have a stove. Before I go, I'd like you to take a second to think back to your high school, to your middle school, to your elementary school, and see if you can conjure in your mind the name that was most important to you of that person in upper administration. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Leah Thatch. I am the junior class president at Lynn Classical High School, and I'm here on behalf of the 400 students that I help represent. We spend 6 to 8 hours a day for 5 days at school. While we're there, we're constantly doing work, and then when we go home, we have at least 2 hours of work to do. All this work combined with our personal lives, home life, and after-school activities, we all feel very stressed. Some of us have families that we can openly communicate about our feelings, but most of us don't have that. So it's important to have social workers and teachers because they're that person we can talk to without judgment. They're there for us when we have panic attacks, for when we have no one to talk to, and for when we feel like nothing's going well for us. They're there to help us adjust to situations and to help manage our emotions when we feel like the world is against us. By getting rid of our social workers and teachers, you're essentially getting rid of a person who is meant to help us learn to navigate our own feelings and make us feel like school is a safe and comfortable space for us to go to. Without them, students will continue to feel like school is just a bunch of stress and no reward, which will lead to more possible school dropouts. But with our social workers and teachers in our schools, many of us will feel like our voices are being heard and that we matter as a person and as a student. We need our teachers, we need our social workers, and we need our student-facing staff members. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ana Mangos, and I am a junior at Lynn Classical High School. I am here to speak on behalf of all of the students who use the Social Emotional Learning Program, or the SEL, and to talk against the budget cuts going towards that. These cuts may seem like the right thing for our district to save money, but not everybody sees how this proposal will affect students like me in their everyday lives. To some, these social workers are the only lifeline that gets them through the day. Unfortunately, not every student has a stable life at home. However, despite the challenges that they face, they still make that effort to show up to school, to learn. They come to school carrying this weight on their shoulders, and these social workers come to school to help these students. That's their job, to lift some of that weight so they can succeed and do what they came to school to do. I personally use SEL as a safe haven throughout the school day to take a minute. As a student who is active in my community, I often don't focus on my own mental well-being. It's more than a small break. These counselors help us through the battles that we do not always show. And some students need that extra attention, and not everyone can afford outside mental health services. Cutting the budget for these staff means that there has to be more students per clinician, less time, less resources, and there's less support for each student. And what does this show our students? All right. You as leaders work within our school because you care about the well-being and success of
our students so they can learn, they can grow, they can make connections with these adults in the building that will impact them for the rest of their lives. And these proposed cuts are not displaying the care for these students that I know you have. I come here today to ask that you look into other areas of budgeting and not our educators and mental health specialists. Students like me have little to no control over how you, as our leaders, allocate the budget, but we do, however, face the consequences and effects that come from it. These cuts affect our younger generation, and it does not reflect the educational values of this community. So please make the decision that reflects how you, as our role models for our education, truly feel about us as the students and faculty members affected by your decision. Thank you.
I'm going to read to try to stay on time, so if I'm not looking at you, I don't want to get cut off. Good evening, members of the school committee. My name is Amanda DeChiaro, and I'm a school clinician at Lynn Classical High School. I'm here tonight to speak about what these proposed cuts mean for students who rely on us every single day for safety, stability, and support. School clinicians are not an extra. We are not a luxury. We are an essential part of how schools function safely, effectively, and humanely. Every day we support students on IEPs and 504 plans so they can access their education in meaningful ways. But we also serve general education students who are struggling silently, students experiencing anxiety, depression, trauma, and crisis. We are the staff who respond when a student is in distress. We de-escalate situations before they become unsafe. We intervene during behavioral and emotional crises. We provide counseling, run social skills groups, and support conflict resolution between peers. And it is critical to understand this. When a student is experiencing a true mental health crisis, only a licensed clinician, specifically an LICSW, has the training to assess risk, determine appropriate next steps, and initiate emergency procedures when safety is at stake. That responsibility cannot be reassigned. It requires clinical expertise, legal knowledge, and specialized training. We also serve as case managers, connecting students and families to outpatient therapy, housing resources, food support, and community-based services. We help families navigate systems such as DCF, family court, and complex attendance barriers. We are often the bridge between school and home when families are in crisis. And the need for this work is not decreasing. Over the past 3 years, suicidal ideation has more than doubled in our schools, from 11 to over 25 incidents monthly. Suicide attempts have nearly tripled and remain at that elevated level. Self-harm and other serious mental health concerns continue to occur consistently across the district. In total, there have been over 500 documented safety-related incidences, including over 170 abuse and neglect concerns, more than 130 suicidal ideation cases, dozens of self-harm incidences, and hundreds of additional behavioral and mental health crises. These are not isolated incidences. This is a district-wide and ongoing reality. These are the situations clinicians respond to every single day. At Classical High School specifically, we already lost a clinician position last year. Since then, we have absorbed expanded caseloads and reduced capacity while continuing to meet escalating student needs. We are already stretched beyond what is sustainable. We often cannot take uninterrupted time for documentation or basic breaks. We are constantly balancing crisis response, mandated meetings, and ongoing student support simultaneously. There is no remaining capacity to absorb further reductions without direct impact on students. And what that means is simple. Fewer clinicians means fewer students receiving timely intervention and more students reaching crisis. With that, I'd like to turn it over to my colleague who will speak more specifically about what this means for Classical High School as a system and what we could be building if we were properly resourced. Thank you.
Hello, good evening, members of the school committee. My name is Lisa Lee, and I'm also a school clinician at Lynn Classical High School. As Amanda just shared, we are already operating in a system under significant strain. I urge you to reconsider all proposed cuts to our student-facing positions. Right now, I want to speak just about Lynn Classical specifically and what we could be doing if we were staffed to move beyond just crisis response. At Classical, we have a strong and committed clinical team, but right now much of our work is reactive. We're responding to crises as they happen rather than building systems to prevent them in the first place. With adequate staffing, we would have the opportunity to shift towards prevention and early intervention, the work that strengthens the entire school community. At Classical High School, we could experience Tier 1 supports that reach every student, not just the students in crisis. This means we can push into classrooms to deliver social-emotional learning lessons on coping skills, emotional regulation, healthy relationships, and conflict resolution. We can build school-wide initiatives that promote belonging, inclusion, and a positive school climate. We can implement restorative practices that repair harm, rebuild trust, and reduce repeat disciplinary actions. We can develop peer mentorship and peer mediation programs that empower students to support one another. We can run workshops that build self-esteem, resilience, and identity development. We can strengthen attendance systems with early intervention supports before students disengage. We can provide psychoeducation to students and families that reduce stigma and increase access to care. This is preventative work. This is how we reduce the over 500 incidents that Amanda mentioned before that are occurring across the district. This is how we improve attendance, strengthen school culture, and reduce crisis situations before they escalate. But this only happens if we have the staffing and the time to be proactive, not reactive. Right now, we're in constant triage, and further cuts will ensure that remains to be our only mode of operation. I also want to connect this to the district's stated priorities. At recent presentations, the last school committee meeting referencing preserving special education ML supports and strengthening instruction through attendance, belonging, and inclusion. Those were noted as the priorities. School clinicians are central to all of those priorities. We support students with IEPs and 504 plans. We support multilingual learners and their families. We are deeply embedded in attendance, engagement, and school climate work. From our perspective, reducing clinician capacity directly undermines those stated priorities. And we also need to consider the financial impact. When students do not receive appropriate support within their schools, they often require out-of-district placements. And for the region that we live in, that's about an average of $219,000 per student per year. Even a small increase in unmet needs leading to escalation will outweigh any short-term staffing savings. And those placements are also more restrictive, removing students from their peers, their community, and their support systems. We should be prioritizing keeping students in the least restrictive environment possible with the supports they need to succeed within their own school. Because when clinician positions are reduced, the work does not disappear. It shifts onto already overextended teachers, administrators, or ultimately it goes unmet. And when needs go unmet, we see the consequences: increased crises, declining attendance, reduced academic progress, and a less stable school environment. These cuts might balance the budget on paper, but they'll cost far more in long-term outcomes. They will cost student well-being, they will cost safety, they will cost equity. I urge you to reconsider not just what's being reduced, but what is being lost before it's ever being built. The kids here deserve that. When you cut school clinicians, you're not just cutting positions. You're cutting the systems that keep students safe, supported, and in school. Thank you.
Good evening, Daniel Fines, 5 Beckford Street, Beverly. I'd like to start with the obvious because even though obvious, we don't really talk about it very much. Jobs loss hurts, and it doesn't matter if you're the mayor, if you're the superintendent, a school committee member, a teacher, it just doesn't matter. And the funding we're stuck with right now is going to cause pain and suffering for a lot of people. That being said, we are in a unique context, which all these folks are referred to. Job losses have a damaging effect on our students. In my own experience, I've witnessed the negative impact on students' emotional well-being and then ultimately academic achievement when adults they interact with regularly at school disappear. With the current funding available, student-facing positions have to be kept as best we possibly can. And I know that you all agree with that because you've said so. So now towards that end, I know the MLE executive director position was eliminated. However, there was an increase in the number of MLE assistant directors from 2 to 3. Perhaps we could leave the number of MLE assistant directors at 2. The executive director of innovation and grants position was eliminated, but a new deputy director of innovation and grants was created. If we could do without the executive position, maybe we could do without the deputy director position. You came to our school the other day and you mentioned that the chief academic officer position won't be filled and those responsibilities will be shifted onto one of the 3 deputy superintendents. I was kind of wondering, could we still reduce the number of deputy superintendents to 2, take those CEO responsibilities onto 1, and leave a deputy superintendent as a deputy superintendent? But beyond that, I was wondering if we could consider consolidating some positions. We have 2 assistant directors for reading, ELA, and mathematics. Would it be possible to try working with one of each? Similarly, we have 2 supervisors of attendance. Maybe we could make do with 1. And we have 2 transportation assistant database managers. Maybe we can make do with 1. All in, if we did just that, it would be a cost savings of just south of $1 million. And we could restore, 8, 10, a dozen student-facing positions with just that, which ultimately I think is why we're here tonight. Thank you very much for listening.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak in opposition to the budget? Yep. No, but there is an open mic after.
Hi, my name is Michael Grunder Orlando. I live at 18 Tilton Terrace in Ward 4. I'm also one of the itinerant band teachers here in the district, and my home base is Marshall Middle School. And I'm here to talk to you to think critically about the Pickering Middle School music position that's on the chopping block. First off, I would like to thank you guys for saving the Lynn Tech music position. I just want to bring it to your attention that we have 2 music teachers at every middle school, 2 school-based music teachers. If we cut 1 at Pickering, then all of a sudden we have one school that has less than its sister schools. A few years ago is when we started hiring the additional music teacher at those schools. When we did that at Marshall and we had a second music teacher, our chorus went from a handful of students to this year over 70. That is only possible because we have 2 music teachers in that building. And we also have a new Pickering Middle School on the horizon. That school will have an increased enrollment to help alleviate the overcrowding at the other middle schools. If we eliminate this position at Pickering and we open that new school, we will have 1 teacher who is trying their hardest to serve an increased enrollment, while the other 2 middle schools have 2 teachers. That's not fair to those students, and that's not fair to that staff. So I would encourage you, please save the Pickering Middle School music position. We are just asking for stability here to maintain our current level of programming as we weather this budgetary storm together. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jessica Figueredo, 8 Lowell Street Court, Lynn, Mass. Good evening. I am a behavior specialist in Lynn Public Schools, and I also have children who attend schools in the district. I'm speaking tonight because I care deeply about the students I support professionally and the students and staff I know personally. I'm concerned about how budget and staffing decisions are impacting classrooms. When schools are understaffed or stretched too thin, it directly affects students' behavior, support, classroom stability, and learning conditions. As a behavior specialist, I see every day how important consistent support services are for students, especially those who are struggling with behavior, regulation, or social emotional needs. When these supports are limited, students lose access to the help they need to succeed. I also see the impact on teachers and staff when workloads increase. Working conditions are learning conditions, and when staff are overwhelmed, students feel that impact immediately. As both an employee and a parent in this district, I'm asking the committee to prioritize adequate staffing, strong support services, and decisions that protect the stability of our schools. Our students deserve consistency, safety, and support. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition to the budget? Anyone else in opposition? Last call for opposition to the budget, and we will close the public hearing on the fiscal year 2027 budget, and we will now enter into the open mic portion of the evening. The open mic session is designed to provide an opportunity for citizens to express their views on matters of concern to the school committee. The sessions are not designed to encourage debate or lengthy exchange of views, but are to have the committee understand numerous points of view. The committee would appreciate speakers keeping their presentation to 3 minutes in order to accommodate as many people as time permits. The chair reserves the right to limit the number of speakers in the same topic to 3. All speakers must be at least 18 years of age or enrolled in high school in the public schools district and having discussed their views with a student government representative. The chair reserves the right to rule the speaker out of order if they feel that the speaker's comments are personal in nature. If a speaker's comments are directed at a school committee member or a member of school administration in attendance, that member, through the chair, may address the individual. I will call the people who signed up that I looked like they had something besides the budget, but then I'll do another open call as well. So the first name is Angela Oza. State your name and address. Thank you.
Good evening. So my name is Angela Oza, and I am a fourth grade teacher at Tracy. I've been a classroom teacher in Lynn for 12 years. And so I'm here tonight to speak about the agenda item E/F, the statement of interest to the MSBA for the core program project at both Callahan and Tracy. Tuesday morning when I checked the website to look at the agenda, I kind of assumed I was just going to see the budget hearing. So imagine my shock, surprise, and frankly, I don't even know what to say. I felt when I saw that Tracy was listed for the statement of interest to the MSBA. We know that the school, isn't in the best condition. So it's not that it was shocked that it would be there. Just I wasn't expecting it on the night that we were also doing the budget hearing. So regardless, I was very happy to see Molly come to our school Tuesday afternoon and explain the reasoning behind it. And so I took some time, reflected, and looked into the MSBA a little bit more than I already had, and I just wanted to share some thoughts with you. So according to the most recent school survey completed in 2025 by the Massachusetts School Building Authority, so the MSBA, the average ratings, the Lynn school districts' average ratings are as follows. The building condition is a 2. The score at 0.30. General environment is a 1. General environment score is a 0.23. First being the best, 4 being the poorest. The Tracy building condition is at a 2. So that's a 0.38. General environment is a 3. 0.41. So the Callahan building conditions is at a 3, 0.47. General environment is at a 2, 0.26. This is all available on the MSBA. This means that both schools fall below the district average in regards to the physical structure. This has obviously nothing to do with the quality of the education. I just want to make that clear. We're just talking about the building. The staff for the Tracy were informed of the agenda items this week, like I said, and in that statement of interest is the closure of the Tracy school and the statement of interest to do an addition onto the Callahan. The intent being that many Tracy students would attend the Callahan as well as other schools. It's over a mile away. The statement of interest is to close this school building. It's not to replace it. It's to close it. This would leave our neighborhood without a school. This is a profound loss, which cannot be overstated. It cannot be overstated. I'm going to restate this one last time. The plan is to close the Tracy School and not replace it. I fail to see how this is in the best interest of the students. I have to be honest with you, on Wednesday morning when I went to pick up my class, I was almost in tears looking at them, thinking of these kids and their classmates, their younger brothers and sisters, their families. It's a big loss. I'm not disagreeing with the fact of the condition of any of the buildings that are in the condition that they're in. That's not what I'm saying. I just ask that you think deeply about this and the profound impact that it'll have on the community, the families, the students, and just please, like, keep that forefront. That's the most important thing. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak at open mic? State your name and address.
This is kind of just to add on a little bit. It's something I meant to say 2 weeks ago in support of the librarians. Heather Lang, 43 Osgood Street, Salem. Growing up in a bilingual household, I was a child of a deaf adult. It wasn't until 4th grade that my teachers and the specialists that worked in our classrooms realized I couldn't read, which helps me working with my special needs students. We have that ability to kind of connect and things like that. And also drew me into becoming a special ed teacher myself. But the librarian in the library was a safe haven for me. And she was the person who every day during lunch, recess, any rainy days, I was in the library with her learning to read. And I'm still obsessed with the game Scrabble because that is one of the ways that she was teaching me how to read, was playing games and doing different things. I don't think I would be the teacher I am today without those specialists and interventionists and even the librarian. Myself, along with Michael Lopez and Michael Haddad, have the great distinction of being the first Lynners, I guess you could say, and we're at the same high school until Michael moved. We also were the first Teacher of the Year semifinalist to be from Lynn. And I think having those student-facing positions do make a difference. And it reminds me of the analogy with the little boy on the beach and throwing the starfishes back. And someone coming along and saying, "Why are you doing that? There's dozens of them here. You'll never get them all." And he said, "Well, because he picks one up and throws it back. Made a difference for that one, didn't it?" So I just like you to take time and realize that those connections, and each kid does have someone who's making an impact for them. And it can be anybody in the building. We've heard a lot about relationships and different people having those connections with those kids. And you never know where that kid's going to end up. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else for open mic? Anyone else for open mic? Yep.
Hi, my name is Jean Dunlap. I spoke 2 weeks ago regarding the music department, and thank you guys again for restating the 8th grade position at Tech. The students are, once they find out, they'll be beyond thrilled and grateful. And one thing I do want to emphasize, going off of what Michael Grunder Orlando stated earlier, is that the middle school position at Pickering is just as important, and all these positions are important. I'll give my own personal testimony. So when I was growing up, I come from a very unstable family. When I was in middle school, we had a housing issue. And keep in mind, I am one of 4 kids. My older sister has Down syndrome, my younger brother has autism, and then my younger sister is mentally unstable. So growing up was very challenging. When I got into high school, it got better because of the teachers that I had. If it wasn't for the teachers that I had, as well as the clinical staff that was able to support my siblings, I would not be where I am right now. My senior year of high school, we were homeless for about 9 months of the school year. And during those 9 months, I'm not a Lynner, but we lived in Lynn for a short period of time. I would walk from Lynn down by like Boston Street, Lynn, all the way to Salem High School, 77 Wilson. And I did this walk consistently every day so I could continue getting my education. And to know that thankfully my sisters and my brothers had supports in place for them where they had public transportation through the special education department. And the fact that we had counselors at school who were able to talk to us and be able to provide us support with food, housing, emotional learning as well. These are the people you are impacting. Just last week, I had a student come up to me with their arms covered, asking, I need help. These are the kids you are impacting. So keep in mind, we appreciate everything you've done. Librarians, phenomenal. Music teachers, phenomenal. But we also need to make sure it's not just the positions that we are deeming important, but the positions that directly face these kids. Because no offense, these kids are not going to remember upper admin names, as we already stated. I could not tell you who my superintendent was. I cannot tell you who was in charge of what department, but I can tell you every single name of the teacher and every clinical staff member who helped me and my family throughout those years. And my story probably resonates with many of our students in Lynn. Those who come from challenging family backgrounds, housing instability, addictions, emotional health issues, learning disabilities, it all ties together. So please take the time today, and I know you guys probably have already written down your notes about what you want this budget to look like, but I want you to take a firm look at the budget and assess what has been messed up and how can we fix it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak at open mic? Okay.
Good evening. My name is Amelia Stank. I attend Lynn Classical. I am the senior class vice president, and I am the current student representative to the school committee. As you can tell, I probably wasn't preparing to say something, but as I saw everybody else speak tonight, I was writing as they were speaking, which was, in hindsight, a little bit rude of me, but I promise I was listening. For those of you who may be unaware, I'm a member of Girls Inc. of Boston and Lynn, where I recently received the honor of being named one of the 2026 Girl Hero Award winners. I was grateful to be able to speak as a part of this, where I talked about how I will be going to college this fall to study education. Some people will say that teaching is in my blood, as my mother was a teacher, now administrator, and her parents are retired teachers. However, I argue that teaching is truly in my heart. I have been impacted by teachers at all levels, which has inspired a need to give back. In elementary school, I was a part of the integrated classrooms, a combination of general and special education students. Integration is, as I have learned through courses at Salem State, a form of social emotional learning benefiting all students. I form relationships with everyone possible, becoming my 5th grade teacher's secretary when I took his phone calls, or simply asking our visiting reading specialist how our weekend went. In high school, I have grown so much. While I have learned about the American Revolution and quadratic equations, the most learning has come through relationships. Just today, I had a conversation with my principal for my early college research project. Last week, I remember how a hall monitor fist bumped someone and asked about their weekend, and then told them to take their ID out of their pocket and put it around their neck. I asked my English teacher just today her thoughts on my college list because I have been faced with the ability of choice. I have built connections with paraprofessionals, whether it's one who acts as my club advisor or another from the coach program that says hi when I see her, who are both here tonight. When I was writing essays for scholarships, and trust me, there were a lot of them that I needed to write, all questions came back to asking me why I chose to study what I did. I have always talked about wanting to go back to the city that served me. That has always been my dream. Teachers are why I teach, sure, but administration, especially at the city level, are why I want to create change. It is up to you as the school committee and thus governing body of the fiscal year 2027 budget to decide whether A, my desire to create change has been positively or negatively impacted by what I have learned through my experiences, and B, what you, as those who serve all students of Lynn, will do about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for open mic? Yep, go ahead, say your name and address, please.
Hey, my name is Mitch Gaynor. I live over on Myrtle Street, Ward 7, I think that is, if I'm right. I am not a teacher. I do not have kids in the school system, but I guess I wanted to speak on behalf of people who just living in the city and how this impacts them. First and foremost, I want to ask everybody to think about, we heard a lot of testimony here today about the types of adults that are in a kid's life and how that changes who they are. For a second, all due respect to the kids, I want to think about the types of adults we want to be and how we're taking away opportunities to be those kind of adults when we cut positions like this. Whether you call it a clinician, a coach, a teacher, administrator, a counselor, or a specialist, all these are people that are adults in a kid's life. Just came from a conference. We just drove back like 2 hours from an educational conference. I spoke with somebody there who told me that for a kid to be successful in life, ideally, before they graduate high school, they need 5 adults in their corner. We know, everyone in this room knows, that lots of our kids come into school without the first 2, their parents. They might have one, but rarely do they have both. They might not have an aunt or an uncle. They might not have a good mentor. They might not have a great boss at work. And so where they find those adults in their young adulthood, in their adolescence, is us showing up and being those adults in their lives. Now, all of us can volunteer at your local little league, and I referee basketball and I coach on the side, and I do everything I can to be that kind of adult in a kid's life. But at the end of the day, we also all have bills to pay. So the people here who sign up to come do that full-time, who take on that baggage full-time, day in and day out, those people deserve the support, because at the end of the day, the thing we all have to consider is no one debating this budget here today, none of you are the kids who are going to be impacted, nor did those kids have any impact on this budget crisis. This isn't their fault. We can't be taking resources away from the next generation of Lynn being able to grow up to be the adults that we want to be if we don't enable the adults that we have right now to show up for them in these times. So there's lots of places we can cut money, and I understand money is the root of all things in government, right? We have to figure out how to solve the budget crisis. But the things that we cut can't be the things that we're taking away from the exact city that we're going to build. Because if you cut now from the kids, then you're not going to have a city standing in the future. You're going to have a whole bunch of uneducated people running around with no jobs and no money and no way to understand the world around them. And if you have that, then what is the city that you're going to leave behind as counselors, as school committee members, as leaders? And I just want you to take away that thought tonight when you're doing the rest of this budget. Thank you.
Go ahead, state your name and address.
Good evening. My name is Charity Bigaruka. I teach general music at the Marshall School in Lynn. When I was much younger, my mom used to call me Miss Hobday's daughter. I didn't know why. Until I got a daughter of my own. She'd come home talking about Miss Angela, non-stop. Miss Angela this, Miss Angela, Miss Angela, Miss Angela. And then I understood why my mom called me Miss Hobday's daughter, because Miss Hobday had a big impact on me that I began to feel guilty, to feel bad that my mom might think I don't love her enough. So sometimes I told my daughter something and she said, but Miss Angela said it's this way. How come you're telling me it's this way? Miss Angela says this. So I just feel that there's some student out there who likes music because of who's teaching it. There's some student there who likes mathematics because of who's teaching mathematics. I loved music so much, and I didn't see myself as a music teacher. But because of Miss Hobday, I began to see myself as a music teacher. And I grew up thinking teachers were miserable, and I did not even opt for education. When I was in Uganda, I did mass communication. But eventually I did a master's in music, and I saw myself teaching music, and I got into teaching music, and I could not believe what a joy it was to teach music. I began to feel it's something I can do even if I wasn't being paid because of the joy it brings me. So I just feel that there's students who, like me, might like a certain subject because of the teacher who's teaching it. And if that is changed, it might cause them to change the way they look at going to school, because let's face facts, school is very difficult. Life on the whole is very, very difficult. It's much harder for a student who doesn't want to go to school. But if we remove reasons for them to want to go to school, it becomes that much harder. I really think that we should reconsider budget cuts for teachers. Thank you.
Hi, Amy here, 259 Lafayette Street, Salem. I want to say something that I didn't have the courage to say 2 weeks ago, and wasn't sure I was going to say it today, because I don't know how popular it's going to be with the membership. But I want to remind everyone that no matter what school you teach at, you're a Lynn public educator. I have had the pleasure of teaching at Lynn Tech, Lynn English, Lynn Classical for summer school, and now CASA. And I know tensions are high and people are worried. I'm an itinerant teacher. I left science when my students were not passing the MCAS and became an ESL teacher only because I was dually licensed. And it was hard to leave science. It was hard to leave tech. But as an itinerant teacher, you don't get to stay. You go where they ask you to go. And you make your new school your school. And you leave your students behind. And I went to the Living in Two Worlds and watched 4 of my students present. And I missed Lynn English. But I'm at CASA now, and I have wonderful students at CASA. And I'm sorry if people are like, oh, we're losing teachers. If they have a position within the city, they're still your teacher. I still get messages from my students on Schoology. And I just wanted to say this because I've been fighting for librarian positions. I've been fighting for my school in English. I'm still a tiger. I'm still a bulldog. I didn't get a free t-shirt from the Rams, but maybe they'll give me one now. And who knows? Maybe I'll be at Marshall next year. I just want to remind everyone this, right? Because it hurts. It hurts everyone. We are all one school, one union, one district. Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you. Anyone else? Yep.
Evening, folks. Steve Orlando Grunder, 18 Tilton Terrace, Ward 4, apparently. Didn't know that until my husband spoke. I'm not a teacher. I'm a writer. I'm the writer of Superman and Wonder Woman. If your kids like movies, I probably write those characters. And I've also written books with my friend Jose Andres, 600 million meals served worldwide. I've been on the ground in Florida after Hurricane Michael. This is not to fluff me up in front of the panel. It's to say when I say I know about power, how to use it, how to do the most you can with whatever you have. I'm not running my mouth. I've done it. So, and I'm a voter, right? When I get up here, I came to my first meeting actually just 2 weeks ago. I went to meetings when I was a student, and folks, when they were running, came to my house, asked me what my priorities were as a voter, and it was very simple. It was protect our students. This is not a normal time. I've heard of pushes for things like hold harmless agreements that are generally for use in times like COVID, which was an extraordinary time. This is an extraordinary time. I'm not here to talk about the budget. Everyone behind me knows more about the budget, but I know what I expect and what I want as a voter, and I want to hear what we're doing. I want to hear action being taken. I understand that petitions were made to the Capitol as far as the hold harmless agreement. No response was given. I'm speaking on the open mic side, not the budget side, because I want to know when that was followed up on. I want to know what is being done. Last meeting, Mr. Curley brought up an idea to bring remote learning back if students didn't feel safe going to school. I see that as, from my perspective, as something with high potential. If the problem is enrollment, I want to know how we are finding ways to get students enrolled again. Otherwise, this is systemic. Once again, I work in the entertainment industry. I do know about people nickel and diming things until they get destroyed. So when I hear that enrollment is down, and I hear that we are now talking about further removing resources from students, many of whom may only feel safe in school in the first place, it looks like any number of projects I've been that have fallen apart. But unlike when a book I'm doing goes to hell, nothing doesn't really matter. The losses here are students, and as you heard from some of the clinicians, sometimes students' lives. So I'm here to talk about not just the budget. Yes, it would be great if those things weren't cut, but I'm here to talk about my perspective. I want to see you folks, you have the power. That's obvious. It's evident from this meeting. It's evident when you have students making student impact statements, sometimes in tears about how they have to petition you because they have no power. You folks have the power. And the only power I have is as a voter. So I want to know how you're using it. I'm going to keep coming to these meetings. I want to know if you have continued to pursue things like the hold harmless agreement. I want to know if you've continued to pursue alternate solutions, such as the suggestion with remote learning, or things that I, of course, haven't heard of, because this is not my job. I make stuff up for a living. But I can vote, and I can come here and speak. I have a job with no stakes. You folks here, from my perspective, you're the shield. You're what protects these students from forces, perhaps even above you, that don't have their best interests in heart. That means to me, as someone who, of course, pays taxes and, of course, votes, that above all, you must have these students' best interests in heart. And you must be that shield. It disheartens me to see things like the teachers' union, to see students here, in some cases, begging you for assistance because you should be on their team. You should be on students' team. You should be the front lines against the people who do not have their success at heart. And I'm going to keep coming to meetings, and I hope I hear more about how that is progressing in a positive way.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else for open mic? Anyone else for open mic? Last call for open mic, and we will close the open mic portion of the evening and move into the 7th regular meeting of the school committee. Roll call, please.
Member Castellanos?
Present.
Member Gaby?
Present.
Member Ortiz-McGrath?
Present.
Member Pena?
Present.
Member Satterwhite?
Present.
Member Smith?
Present.
Mayor Nicholson?
Present. For those who are able, please rise for a salute to the flag.
United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next item is the minutes.
Motion to accept the Buildings and Grounds Subcommittee on March 26, 2026.
Second.
Motion to accept the 6th regular meeting on March 26, 2026.
Seconded.
Motion made, seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Next is a field trip request for Breed Middle School. What's the recommendation of the
Yep,
superintendent?
I am recommending that you accept this request for Breed Middle School to attend the 8th grade field trip at Kenneby Lake Park in Salem, New Hampshire on June 16th, 2026.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. And then donations.
Yeah, so we have a new Camp Rotary director, and I believe Mike Earls was going to come. Hi, you want to come up and speak? So this is annual, as many of you know. Camp Rotary has been extremely generous with the Lynn Public Schools, and Mike is stepping in after Dr. Cowdell now has officially retired. So Mike, take it away.
Hello. Thank you all for having me this evening. Superintendent Cohen, Mr. Mayor, school committee members, I appreciate the time. I just wanted to come and be able to put my face in front of you and say hello, introduce myself. I am really honored to be able to continue the work that Dr. Cowdell has generously given of his time over nearly 4 decades at Camp Rotary, over 3 decades as the director. I'm sure many of you are familiar with him through his work in the Lynn Public Schools and maybe as well through his work with Camp Rotary. I know that there's a lot of pressing issues that the school committee is working through tonight, so I don't want to spend a lot of your time on this item, but I do want to just say thank you to all of you for considering our continued donation, and we really appreciate continuing to be able to work to serve the children of Lynn, which has been a part of our mission since the camp opened in 1921.
Thank you very much. Any questions?
Yes. I want to thank you for coming. I am so grateful that students in this district get to go to Camp Rotary and experience 1 week of just pure joy, because my son got to go there, several people go there, and what they learn while they're there is critical thinking. They learn so many things, and I am just so grateful that you come back year after year and donate 56 Lynn students to Camp Rotary. Could you just let the committee know how much a week costs?
So the tuition for this year is $1,075, and then there's a $35 registration fee, so it comes out to $1,110 per week, per camper week that's being donated.
So that's going to go to our Lynn students, and it has been going, and I can't tell you how grateful I am. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, as a former camper myself, I've been involved with Camp Rotary since I was 10 years old. I started as a camper in 1998. I've been a staff member for over 20 years since I was in high school. I met my wife there. My children have started going there. They're instantly in love with the place as of last year, and they'll be there several weeks this year as well. So it's really an incredible place.
Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you. Is there a motion?
Second. Still move.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I
Rotary
appreciate it.
generosity.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay, another recommendation for donation, a donation to Prince Italian Food for $260 to LVTI's Life Skills Program.
Still move.
All right. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you.
Another donation from David Scahan of $505 to FDCA's Therapeutic Program.
So moved.
Second? Yep.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Another donation from Miscellaneous Donation totaling $655.64 to Lynn Classical Boys Basketball Team.
Still move.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
And a final donation from Gannon Golf Course for $250 to Fallon Elementary School.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, everyone, for that generosity. We appreciate it. Next is a vote for the last day of the school year, which is proposed for June 29th, 2026. Any questions?
Motion made.
All right.
Seconded.
Is there a second?
Second.
I
Roll
do
call.
have something to say.
Okay, go ahead.
I am very disappointed, as probably almost everybody out there is disappointed, that the 29th falls on a Monday. I'm so sorry. It's a half a day, but you know those rules and regulations from DESI, and you have to go. I'm so sorry.
I think one of my obviously these are mandated, right? So the summer months are hot. The buildings get hot. I think being mindful and just thinking ahead of how to keep the buildings cool. I don't know what we could do in partnership to prepare for that, because it's going to be very hot around that time, and the reality is going to sink in. And I'm not sure, June 29th it's hot, so hopefully we can prepare for that. And I think staff, students, we have to really monitor those conditions, and I'm sure we could partner up and be proactive as possible when it is hot to that point, because I know there's also regulations there. So we have to try to make sure that we're prepared for that.
Thank you. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Member Castellanos?
Yes.
Member Gately?
Yes.
Member Ortiz McGrath? Member Pena?
Yes.
Member Satterwhite?
Yes.
Member Smith?
Yes.
Mayor Nicholson?
Yes. Next is a vote to continue non-participation in school of choice for 26-27.
We're exploring school participation, but we're only at the very beginning of exploring. So we're recommending not offering school choice for next year at this stage.
Is there a motion?
Motion. So moved.
Is there a second? Second. Any discussion? Questions? All right, roll call, please.
Member Castellanos?
Yes.
Member Gately?
Yes.
Member Ortiz McGrath? Member Pena?
Yes.
Member Satterwhite?
Yes.
Member Smith?
Yes.
Mayor Nicholson?
Yes. Next is a vote to submit a statement of interest to the MSBA for a core program project at Julia F. Callahan Elementary School, to be followed by the next item, which is an SOI for Tracy Elementary School. I think the superintendent's going to share some slides, and Laura Stockfish from the city's capital projects unit is here as well for questions. And I'll just say as we get started that addressing the conditions of our school facilities has been a top priority for us as a district for quite some time. I think we've made tremendous progress at the secondary level, particularly when the Pickering opens in under 2 years now, which is very exciting. But as we all know, we have a lot of work to do left at the elementary school, and I think that was clear from the elementary facilities master plan that we did in 2023. And I think the high-level sort of approach to that is we have so many schools that are outdated and facing subpar conditions, but also missing the modern features of a school, what we would expect in an elementary school were it to be built today, like a gym or a cafeteria. That if we ever want to get to the point where we can offer every student that experience, which I think we do, we will need to make the most of the existing assets that we have through renovations and additions, which requires increasing the size of some of those elementary schools. And that's both because would be very unlikely to be able to afford building from scratch that number of schools that would require to replace all the schools that are older. Half our elementary schools are over 100 years old. But also the space challenges that we'd have as a community, even find the sites. I mean, a lot of the schools are on sites that are already tight, and then to try to find new sites, as we all know from going through the process for the middle schools, is a challenge. And so the additions offer us an opportunity to take sites that are in good condition and also have the space to expand and offer the opportunity for that many more students to be able to attend a modern elementary school. And I think, as the superintendent will explain, and as many of you know, this is the first step in a very long process to consider the options that we'll have as a community. But you do need to take a first step in order to ultimately arrive at the end of a process in which more students at the elementary school level would have these facilities. And included in that process would be, lots more opportunity to review the options, communicate with various stakeholders, and also thinking about the way student assignment plays into all this, because there would be opportunities to move boundaries in such a way that students are attending their school that's most optimal for them, which would mean that this would potentially affect multiple assignment areas if we were to sort of draw the lines in order to optimize the size and access of those different schools when we get there. So with that, I will turn it over to the superintendent.
So the mayor just said it all, and I just have slides to show you. So again, just to reiterate, it started in 2023 when there was a master elementary plan because of the number of schools that, and I believe, isn't it 75% of our schools are over 80 years old, 50% are over 100 years old, so for elementary schools. So that's how this started. I want to make it very clear that there are 2 votes on the floor. So this right now is Callahan. So when we talk about Callahan, and actually for both the statement of interest, for you, for the school committee, what we're discussing here now is simply if you vote to submit a statement of interest. That's what tonight is. It is not approving to build, making a financial commitment, or making any decisions. We're simply entering into the MSBA process. As I think that was all summed up, so I will move past this, but I will make a point that I made at Tracy, that it took us 3 years to get to the statement of interest. So when we're talking about this process, and as many of you know, it took nearly 14 years or will take 14 years to get to the Pickering, opening the Pickering school. So this is a long process, and that's why we want to get into the MSBA for consideration, and then begins the discussions about what direction we go in. If we miss this SOI, then we miss, the window, and we have to wait for another window. And then Mayor Nicholson spoke to why. What we learned from that master plan was that there were capacity imbalances across the elementary schools. Some of the schools are missing all types of educational spaces. And so that's why we really should think about the future for investing in our buildings. Why Callahan is about the structure of Callahan and how it sits on 6 acres. It's an optimal building for construction, and that it wouldn't be a new construction, so it'd be cost effective. Also, we have large elementary schools too in East Lynn, and we don't have one in West Lynn. So it's a consideration for where our families live. So that's all for SOI for Callahan. I just wanted to put in a slide for Tracy because Tracy came up as well in terms of making the recommendation and the commitment to MSBA, that because when MSBA invests in us, they're investing in our ability to support the buildings going forward. So taking a school offline will free up future investment into our new buildings. And then the MSBA process, which Mayor Nicholson alluded to, is there's so much after SOI. So SOI is just an interest. Will MSBA consider us? After that begins the eligibility, feasibility, design, construction. All of that is when stakeholders are involved, potential redistricting. All of the questions that people have will come up during those stages. And then if they were to accept the SOI, then that's when MSBA would review our application, consider whether they would invite us in. And I think, yeah, that's it.
Laura, is there anything you'd like to add? Yeah.
So the reason why you're being asked to vote on both SOIs is because it's a requirement of the MSBA, like the mayor said. So, and we would need both positive votes to move forward. And then on Tuesday evening, we'll be presenting this information to the city council, who also has to vote.
Great. Questions? Yep, Member Castellanos.
So I think my first question is, so with each statement of interest, is there a chance that we won't get invited to one, or like when we submit two?
They're paired together.
Oh, so they are
have
paired.
To
So
go
okay.
Correct.
And then my next my comment is, I believe the transparency is so important, especially when it comes to these type of agenda items. I think I want to mention what the staff, I believe the staff from Tracy, Angela, presented some pretty, significant concerns and feelings about the situation being, put on the agenda at that, I think it was a little bit, you guys are moving quick. The statement of interest is also like another window, because I've been going with Pickering. I remember the process was quick. Can you talk a little bit about how, like when we talk about how the window opens and the window closes, can you explain that process to the public? Because it's very quick. And I remember it very clearly with Pickering how we had to be very quick on it and swift. And I didn't find out until earlier this week in full transparency myself. So I didn't find out up until that moment as well. But can you elaborate more on that? Because I think it's important to know.
So we've had about a month to pull the information together for the SOI. So the Capital Projects Unit has worked closely with Lynn Public Schools and the Mayor's Office to put the information together. It is a big decision to move forward with this, and as has been said, it is a very long process. So we have to start somewhere. The SOI is due on the 17th at midnight, so we do only have a very short window to make this decision and move forward, if that is our choice.
So just to clarify, so the capital planning department had this a month ago, and part of the work that I feel like a lot of time got put into identifying where, right, the project site, which is Callahan, and how to pair it so that the strategy, like I guess the application process, and it might have took a lot of time to do that, I believe, right? Is that what the time? I guess I'm trying to figure out how we just heard this week.
We've had the elementary school master plan since 2022.
Okay.
23, and we also paired that with the facilities condition assessment report, which we received in 2022. So
okay.
We have had an understanding of sort of the direction the city may proceed in if we follow the recommendations from those reports.
That's very helpful information. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
you. Yeah, Member Gailey?
We also voted on this, like that in 23, we voted on this plan. And as all of you know, Pickering is just going up. And we started that in 2017. That's a long time ago. We also proposed having an SOI. At one point, we proposed having 2 buildings, 2 middle schools, one on Parkland Ave and one over there in West Lynn, and it didn't go through, so we were pushed out again. So this is just recognizing the fact that there's space on Callahan, that we could expand Callahan. And then, after it's expanded, we could close Tracy. But that's not etched in stone. That's together with the package, and I totally feel for Angela because it's hard to leave a school. And I know that the conditions that we're going to provide for your neighborhood students will be conditions that will be better than they are now. Not the staff, just the conditions of the buildings, and they'd be updated. So my heart broke for you, and I understood where you were coming from. But we have to move forward and try to get new elementary schools because a lot of ours are almost 100 years old, and we have to start somewhere. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, Member Smith. And then Member Pena.
If this goes through, what is the next step in the process that involves we, the school committee? Do we wait for an approval, a counter proposal? What steps should we be taking if we agree to submit this statement of interest and the city council agrees and it is reviewed by MSBA?
So yeah, the next immediate step is the council would approve it, and then we would submit the application, and then they make a decision whether or not they accept us into the pipeline.
So that will happen probably after a school visit sometime late this summer or early fall, and then we'll hear after that. And then there's a 270-day process of review and back and forth. The entire process is going to take years. And if we are able to, make the vote and get accepted into the program, it's a long process. So we'll be establishing a school building committee for that project, just like we have for Pickering. Then we'll be selecting our OPM and putting out requests for qualifications for that. And then
designer. So working with the MSBA, it is quite a lengthy process. So hurry up and wait. I hate to say that.
And just to add to that, as part of that process, there's going to be more decisions that we as a community need to make about whether we're in a position to proceed. And one of them is financial, whether we're in a position to proceed financially. One of the advantages of the core program is that we're eligible for up to 80% reimbursement. We all know that the effective reimbursement rate is less than that. And so in addition is more bang for your buck in terms of capacity than totally building from scratch. But it's still a sizable project. And even with MSBA reimbursement, that's a sizable capital investment for the city to make, and particularly on the heels of the Pickering project, which is a $200 million school. And so that's something we're just going to have to keep a close eye on, and we're continuing to try to be disciplined on the city side and find opportunities to grow our tax base to create that kind of debt capacity in order to continue to do projects like this. And we want to be in line in the pipeline so that we can, if we continue to have success on that front and creating that kind of capacity, we can continue with move forward with these projects. But we create that risk that these things have to continue to move in the right direction for us to continue to make those investments. One of the things we talked about in 2023 when we did the plan was we knew that once we finished that plan, we weren't going to be in a position to go and implement it, right? Like we knew what schools we wanted to see have additions and grow, but it's hundreds of millions of dollars altogether. But we wanted to have a plan so that when we did have the resources, we knew what we wanted to do and would be able to move forward. And that includes, in tandem with what we're doing on the city side, the advocacy that we've done at the state level around the school construction formula that we've worked with the LTU and AFT on, that our state delegation has sponsored in terms of trying to get reform to the capital budget in the same way that we experience reform to the operating budget through the Student Opportunity Act, again in partnership with the LTU and AFT and lots of folks here. And so that hasn't happened yet. There has been some progress at the state level around the capital funding discussion. The Mass Inc. issued a report this fall that spotlighted some of what we've been talking about, in particular in some other communities that also experience similar issues like New Bedford and Worcester, and our delegation's legislation got some positive attention out of that. So I do think we're making progress. But in the meantime, this particular project I think is of a scope and scale that we could foresee a scenario that as we get closer to finishing out the Pickering project, we'd be ready to take that leap for the next one. And as I said before, we can't be certain that will be the case, but we want that to be an option so that if we are in that position, we can move. We don't have to start at the beginning of a line. You know what I mean? And so that's why we're looking to move forward now. Yeah, Member Pena.
Just want to say, thank you for the presentation. And I felt, it was heartfelt. I understand, the impact that this could do to a community, like the Tracy School. But I also understand that we're providing something more equitable for the students, and that they can, at least experience things that the school doesn't have. And it's outdated, and we want to provide a better. So I would like to make a motion to move forward and take a vote on this SOI.
Great. Good. So I have some language that I'm going to read into the record if you accept it as a friendly amendment for your motion that MSBA likes us to use, and that'll be the motion, and we'll get a second. So it's having convened in an open meeting on April 9th, 2026, prior to the SOI submission closing date, the School Committee of Lynn, in accordance with its charter, bylaws, and ordinances, has voted to authorize the superintendent to submit to the Massachusetts School Building Authority a statement of interest form dated April 17th, 2026, for the Julia F. Callahan School located at 200 O'Callahan Way, Lynn, Massachusetts, 01905, which describes and explains the following deficiencies in the priority categories for which an application may be submitted to the MSBA in the future. Priority 2, elimination of existing severe overcrowding due to significant space limitations at Julia F. Callahan Elementary School that require non-instructional areas to be used for classrooms and student services. Priority 5, replacement, renovation, or modernization of building systems due to aging and original electrical, mechanical, accessibility, and life-saving systems. Priority 7, replacement of or addition to obsolete buildings related to the renovation and expansion of Callahan to enable consolidation of the Tracy Elementary School, which has reached the end of its useful life and cannot meet current standards, and hereby specifically acknowledge that by submitting this statement of interest form, the MSBA in no way guarantees the acceptance or the approval of an application, the awarding of a grant, or any funding commitment from the Massachusetts School Building Authority, or commits the City of Lynn to filing an application for funding with the Massachusetts School Building Authority. So that was Member Pena's motion. Is there
Second.
is there a second? All right. Any further questions, discussion?
Just one thing. I just want you to know that back in 1998 to 2001, we were doing this thing with Lynn English High School. We renovated Lynn English High School while they were building Classical High School, and we know which one is looking very sturdy. So, yeah, just want you to know that it's a long process. It takes a long time, but things get done eventually.
Roll call, please.
Member Castellanos?
Yes.
Member Gately?
Yes.
Member Ortiz McGrath? Member Pena?
Yes.
Member Satterwhite?
Yes.
Member Smith?
Yes.
Mayor Nicholson?
Yes. And then, who wants to make the Tracy motion? I'll read it into the record.
Okay, want to read it and I'll make the motion?
Sure.
Okay,
Having convened an open meeting on April 9, 2026, prior to the SOI submission closing date, the School Committee of Lynn, in accordance with its charter, bylaws, and ordinances, has voted to authorize the superintendent to submit to the Massachusetts School Building Authority a statement of interest dated April 17, 2026, for the Tracy Elementary School located at 35 Walnut Street, Lynn, Massachusetts, 01905, which describes and explains the following deficiencies in the priority categories for which an application may be submitted to the Massachusetts School Building Authority in the future. Priority 2, elimination of existing severe overcrowding due to significant space limitations at the Tracy Elementary School that require non-instructional areas to be used for classrooms and student services. Priority 7, replacement of or addition to obsolete buildings related to the renovation and expansion of Callahan to enable consolidation of the Tracy Elementary School, which has reached the end of its useful life and cannot meet current standards, and hereby further specifically acknowledges that by submitting this statement of interest form, the Massachusetts School Building Authority in no way guarantees the acceptance or the approval of an application, the awarding of a grant, or any other funding commitment from the Massachusetts School Building Authority, or commits the City of Lynn to filing an application for funding with the Massachusetts School Building Authority.
okay, so I'd like to make a motion to submit a statement of interest, SOI, to the MSBA for a core program project at at Tracy Elementary School.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Member Castellanos?
Yes.
Member Gately?
Yes.
Member Ortiz McGrath? Member Pena?
Yes.
Member Satterwhite?
Yes.
Member Smith?
Yes.
Mayor Nicholson?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you all so much. And thank you for the feedback. I'm sure there'll be many more conversations with all the affected communities. We appreciate everyone's support. So the next item is vote. Yeah. You want to take to recess? Yeah, sure. We'll take a 5-minute recess.
Oh, maybe Lori does. She.
No, I got one.
You should have sent them to the last meeting. Instead of going, sometimes they would come straight across. You said go right there. You can't get take them right back. But you take a loop around and you turn up by school. Yeah, and then take a left. That's a lot of big homes there. Yeah. So,
Hey, Howard. You ready?
Just two.
I grew up on the other side of the river, right across.
All right, thanks, everyone. So the next item is the vote on the fiscal year 2027 budget. As you all know, we have this has been a topic of discussion for several months, and year round we've gotten ready for this cycle. And I want to again take a moment to thank everyone who has participated, everyone we've heard from this evening, folks that have reached out to us, everyone sharing their feedback, as well as all the members who are engaging in thoughtful questions. There was another round of questions I know submitted and answered, available on the website, and then everyone who has worked on the budget itself. We really appreciate it, and appreciate this opportunity to further discuss and hopefully take action during a difficult year. I will take this opportunity to reiterate that we've continued our advocacy with the state with respect to the hope for funds to smooth out the enrollment decline. That is something that I've had an opportunity to raise with the legislative leadership, particularly through the Metro Mayors Coalition, which has been taken a strong position in support of that. And we've worked particularly closely with Chelsea, who is in a somewhat similar position, but we've gotten support from all the Metro Mayors, which is helpful, because that's one of the things you need at the legislative level is a broader coalition of communities. And also working with the LTU and AFT in support of their advocacy as well, which is in concert, I would say, with ours on this issue, like many others, and wanting to make sure that we make every case to minimize the disruption of a one-year reversal of what otherwise have been a much different trend over the last 15 to 20 years. And while we're, by the nature of these things, we can't count on that money for this budget that we have to approve, and we have to approve a balanced budget, we continue to be hopeful that there will be an opportunity there, and are making every effort to try to realize that opportunity. So with that, I will turn it over to the superintendent, who I think has an updated.
Thank you. This is a brief update, but I do just want to go back to the beginning for a second. So first, I also would like to thank everybody who has been part of the budget process, who have come to speak at open mic and this open hearing over the last month, and remind us we started this in November. So November 13th was our first meeting when we discussed what is the budget, how do you make a budget, and the budget is always a blueprint for our guiding principles, our commitment to our investment in our students, to our core values, and we have to ensure that the decisions that we make really reflect that. This year was a little different, though, because of our enrollment decline. So I was very thankful for some of the speakers today who referenced our priority areas, because our priority areas also mimic our core values. And so when we sat down to look at the budget, we were making sure that all of the positions are in concert with the work that each one of us does in our different departments. And so when we talk about every single role in the district, they are all working toward strengthening the instructional core, ensuring that our educators are well-resourced and well-supported, that we have retainment for our staff, that all of our students receive equitable access, that our schools have equitable access to rigorous programming, that we're creating an inclusive environment that helps everyone feel belonged, and that we are all accountable. And so the speakers who came to speak and all of the participants who have shared their thoughts or come to question are all accountable towards this budget, because it's all of us who are investing in our students. So when we started this process, we started by explaining that we look at data, that it would be an iterative process. We spoke with LTU, LSAA, 1736, the Teamsters, the VP Associates, our principals, our directors, and there was several iterations of budget proposals that began in December and January and have been reiterated upon all the way up until tonight. Stakeholder members had many opportunities. We held budget forums. We held meetings with anyone who wanted to speak on the budget, and obviously we've had a lot of engagement here at the table and back and forth with posting all of the questions and concerns and all of the responses. So we've really opened a window to where everybody was thinking about the different proposals. When we talk about the budget, it breaks down unequally because not all parts are equal. And so we have a commitment to the Student Opportunity Act and what we said we would accomplish with that funding. Unfortunately, and I just want to remind everybody that because of our decreased enrollment, we received less money. So this year, we didn't have a service level budget. So we were unable to service everything that we have had in the past year because we were provided less funds. So I'm not going to go into all of that finances, but you can watch other budget meetings if you want. But we had to close a $7 million budget. When you look at the entire district, what we didn't want to do was alienate any one group or any one section of our ecosystem. So we looked across the budget, across the entire district, and we looked to see where can we reduce evenly for each of those departments. It is true that teachers and educators make up 74% of the budget. So that is the biggest section of the entire budget. So we were proportionally looking at staffing after we had made some other decisions. So let's flip over to what we said we were going to do. One of the things that we said we were going to do is reduce the leadership layer. So in the last 2 years, there's been a lot of questions about this, so we just put it up in a graph. In the last 2 years, most of this school committee has closed 15 positions at the district level. All of those X'd out positions have not been changed to any other positions. They are full reduced positions. They don't exist anymore. The green administrator of MLE position that I put back into the budget had been cut last year. What we heard from schools was without the AD, the assistant director of MLE, and the assistant director of world language, teachers were not supported with the curriculum, resources, coaching, and mentoring that the teachers needed to support those students. So it was hard at the school level without that role. That is why we're putting that position back in. The executive director of innovation that we reduced to a deputy director of innovation, that role has secured many millions of dollars worth of grants to support the CTE pathway, the innovation pathways, and much of the programming of what we're expanding at LVTI, in the CASA Innovation, and Frederick Douglass. So that is why we made the decision to present that role as a key role that brings money into the district during a time when the Chapter 70 money is being reduced. All those other positions don't exist anymore. So what we talked about was where to start, and we said that we would start with the non-personnel reductions first, and then we did the leadership realignment, and then we had to go to staffing. So in order to get to that $7 million gap, there wasn't, we after cutting the $2 million from curriculum and instruction, which was challenging, but after that, and after cutting out all of the external contracts, and after reducing the leadership realignment, we still had the gap to close. What is important to remember around how do we support the staff that are in schools is part of the retention, and I think we presented this in some of our response, but part of the reason why teachers don't stay is because they don't have the mentoring, coaching, support systems to be able to do really challenging work. And so we said if we don't do the external contracts, then we would invest internally. So we have right now 8 schools that are in turnaround. They are below the 10% mark. Unfortunately, we have 4 schools that are hovering around that potential drop. When the DESE offers support, they also have a lot of reporting systems that are required in terms of that turnaround work. And so teachers need a lot of support. So do the schools. School systems, the schools themselves, need a lot of support from different administrators across the district to be able to do that turnaround work. When we looked at the staffing, we looked at the student ratio given our low enrollment. And so right now we do have classes in the secondary level that are at 11 students in a classroom, 12 students in a classroom. And so when we were talking about how do we support the special ed and MLE positions, we were very careful about how do we create a system where those students still have the support that they need as well. So there was a lot of balancing around looking at staffing. So that is how we came with the job embedded learning in the PLC model. It was referenced that I think department heads were they were cut out or they had to teach more classes in the previous budget. And so what we're advocating for is to hang on to our staff and create the CIT pipeline for leadership, the DH pipeline for leadership. So the model is that we would have a vertical alignment of district level to school level support that will translate in best practices for our students. And so in order to do that, though, we have to be able to have the teacher level positions or administrator level positions to be in the classrooms supporting students and teachers. And then the family engagement is a big portion of our strategy. We are one of the few districts that doesn't have a family and engagement coordinator or partnership plan for engaging students who are chronically absent or with dropping out, right? We have a high dropout rate compared to other districts that are similar to ours, and so that type of work needs to be supported as well across the system. So our mission work is around ensuring that the students are receiving education that is engaging, student-centered, culturally and linguistically responsive, that in order to deliver on that and in order to ensure that that experience is happening, that we need coaching and mentoring. So ultimately, we were able to, in the last open mic that we had 2 weeks ago, we were able to provide the 8th grade music teacher that had originally been cut from the budget to be reinstated and close a CAD position instead. And then the 2 librarian positions are funded through our capital projects line. What the capital projects line means, though, is that although we can transfer that money for the librarians, it means that that money is no longer in the capital projects line for the building and maintenance, building and grounds maintenance. So that is what we have for the budget. It is a balanced budget. We were able to close the $7 million gap with an aspirational vision forward for supporting educators through a coaching model that is internal and vertically aligned. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. All right, so what I would propose in terms of procedure, how we do this, is we get a main motion on the table, a primary motion to approve the budget, and then we can have discussion, questions, and we can make secondary motions that would then be voted on before we take the final vote on the main motion in terms of amendments. So the main motion would be to approve the budget. That's the budget that's been proposed, and then we can have questions, discussion, and take secondary motions that would be to amend the budget before we take the final vote on the actual budget. So is there a motion to approve the budget?
Make a motion to approve the FY27 budget.
Is there a second?
Can you go?
Yeah,
I know. I think that's a little.
We just need second. Yeah, second. Okay. So now we have a motion on the table, the primary motion. That can be amended with 4 votes, and we also, the floor is open for discussion and questions as well. But when discussion closes and we've taken all the amendments, we're going to vote on that primary motion at the end.
And then it integrates into the.
Yeah, whatever is happening by the end of that discussion will be what we vote on. And remember, for us to have amendments, we still are under obligation to pass a balanced budget, so the amendment would need to state how the budget is balanced. Attorney Greenspan, is that?
That's correct.
That sound good? Okay. Great. Any questions before on what we're doing and how we're doing it? All right. So then the floor is open for any other questions or discussion.
There wasn't a second.
There was a second. I think Member Pena seconded it. Yep. Yep. Member Castellanos.
So is this so we can add the conversation around possibly making a recommendation?
Yep.
First of all, I want to thank everyone who came tonight. It was very valuable and insightful. I want to thank my colleagues, everyone from the district. I know it was a very rigorous and really, really important discussion that we carried out throughout the district. I think most importantly, the students, the impact that was really shared tonight was always something that I never take for granted. It's very important and critical that, you know, a lot of what comes next for me, really, my rationale comes from what was said tonight. And I want to discuss a reduction in an admin recommendation that I want to bring forward. And if I can discuss that recommendation. I'm looking to reduce, I guess, let me put this in, I got it in a form of a motion. I'd like to, first of all, make a motion to delete the position of Transportation Assistant Data Manager from the FY27 budget.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Yeah, Member Gately.
When this was brought to me yesterday about cutting this position, first of all, transportation, we have one manager. She's not a director, she's a manager. And we dealt with NRT, North Reading Transportation, frustrated, people not getting their buses on time, people getting to school late because of North Reading Transportation. This manager came up with a plan, and she had the assistant managers that worked with her. And they are finding other companies that they can turn around and train to run the bus companies better. Losing this position is going to put a huge wrench in that progress. And I don't know about any of my other school committee members, but I only got one call on transportation this year. And last year, when they started it, I only got one call. And I'm hearing from that department that they saved $1 million in the first year, and I don't know how much they've saved this year. But I cannot, in good consciousness, say, I want to go back to where we were with just NRT. And I want every teacher out here that has anyone that's in special ed that can relate to what I lived through at Pickering Middle School when their NRT buses were late. And when NRT doesn't show up. And this is what this project manager, is trying to alleviate. And she has been doing it so successfully. I think this motion is a slap in her face for all her hard work. I think that we need to reconsider this. And I especially think that those people watching right now, take a look who's putting this in, please, and make sure all your phone calls go to them. Thank you.
Why don't we we'll get back to you, yeah. Member Smith, yep.
Thank you very much, Mayor Nicholson. I'm in support of this motion. I seconded the motion. The reason being, as I mentioned last meeting, by the time the money gets to us and it's in this binder, we are pushing around the money that we have. We, as a school committee, cannot find revenue sources. We cannot override or anything like that. This is the money that we have. This motion is not personal, it's personnel. It is simply a recommendation from this committee that we are asking Superintendent Cohen and the administration to just commit a little more. Everyone in the district is suffering because of the lowered enrollment, as well as a very antiquated and out-of-date funding model that we deal with, particularly as an urban district. That is all that this recommendation is stating. That is, we are just looking for the admin to put a little more skin in the game, acknowledging all that has been done in previous budgets, of which I was not a part of, as well as the current budget. That is the reason for it being brought forward. That is the only reason for it. It's not an ideal recommendation. It is not a reflection on the value of this person and their contributions to the district, all in the same way that the reductions of the student-facing positions of the teachers SEL, social workers, etc. Those reductions are not a reflection of the value of those individuals to our district and to our students. That's why I am in support of this motion. Thank you.
Did you want to?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to just reiterate like what I heard tonight from the SEL position. I think it was Amanda from Lynn Classical that talked about the suicide rates, talked about student-facing positions in a district that is very impacted by very unforeseeable federal administrative attacks on the budget. It's a difficult decision tonight to have to do that to any position, regardless of where it's at. There's also multiple levels of insight that came about from the Pickering position today from the special ed program. That was very impactful, and I understand these are very, these are crucial insights, and I just simply cannot, again, ignore that. And everyone has their right. Every member here has a right to speak on how they feel about it. I do feel very strongly about the position that I put forward, and I am going to, again, move that forward.
Member Ortiz McGrath.
So first and foremost, I just want to say thank you to the administration for bringing back the 2 librarians and the music program. I think that is a win for sure. I think it's really important that we consider looking at some of the admin positions in regards to potentially collapsing. And that's for someone who deals with transportation, for someone who trains NRT, I get it. It is difficult. Transportation is a huge undertaking. For a small district, I can only imagine a district this size. But I do think it's really important for us to look at the potential of collapsing some of these roles. I do worry about the SEL-related positions. I worry about the 3 guidance positions being eliminated, knowing that, again, I'll say this number again, only 15 to 20% of students see support staff. We need to think about the other 80% of students. And if we don't have strong tier 1 within our classroom settings, if our staff doesn't feel equipped to do strong tier 1, I do worry about the escalation of mental health related supports. I'm looking at the title funding, and I see that there is, family coordinator positions. I question why aren't we bringing back support staff to do that level of work. Family engagement is extremely important, and I'm part of the FACE team, and I think, I put value in that, but they are not necessarily directly student-facing positions. So we do need to consider what SEL looks like within our district and how we support that level of mental health, because it is only going to get worse. It is not going to get easier. And hearing the numbers and hearing folks speak tonight in regards to the social emotional needs and the struggles and the challenges, that's real. For someone who oversees a mental health department, that is very real. And it is only going to get more challenging. So I'd love to see some level of creativity in regards to the potential of collapsing and seeing where we can, and again, knowing that everybody in this district, I have no doubt that everybody is working really hard to support students, whether you are at the admin level or whether you are at the student-facing level. But I do think that we really need to consider that.
Yep, Member Satterwhite.
Thank you again to the admin. It has been a very long road. We have all lost a lot of sleep on this. We do not take this lightly, and I want to reiterate that because this is a very difficult season for us. And having someone who's in the Lynn Public School System, it does not only affect, the students, but directly impacts me as well. So I do not take this lightly at all. I just wanted to say that we have looked at each line item very closely. I had questioned as well, and I wanted to give a shout out to Daniel Fiends, who had spoke to as well, because I had said too that the one that we have 2 MLE assistant directors, and then 2 math assistant directors in curriculum. And in every other content area, we only have 1. So I proposed that we could potentially reduce one of each? And I thought maybe we could put one in LEHS and one in classical, which I was saying was the two lowest performing schools, and maybe do a VP of curriculum, or make it more moving from central to move it to student facing in the building, where I think it would be a little bit more impactful. Unfortunately, we're not able to do that, but I think that we still need to look at those admin positions and see how we can make things more student facing. And so unfortunately for me, I know that Member Gately had spoke on this in regards to phone calls, but I have received phone calls this year about NRT and transportation, and I feel that we could work around the reduction in this position. So I am in favor of this motion, and this is why. Thank you.
So right now on the table is the secondary motion with respect to the transportation manager position. Is there any more questions or discussion about that question specifically? Yeah, Member Pena.
Yeah, I just want to add that before that, I believe it was Deputy Goris who added the admin, and we had a lot of complaints from NRT that there was a lot of students. I got many calls. Last year I didn't get a call, and it was very effective, and I think it's something that we need. And they came up with the idea of training smaller vendors to be able to fill in the gaps that NRT couldn't fill in. I think it's something that's needed for our students. And I remember all the calls, the students being late, especially special ed students being late. And I think this is something that we really need to keep compliant with our transportation. So a lot of support of removing that.
Sure. So we have Deputy Superintendent Loof oversees Dr. Colella in special ed, who also together support transportation. So she'll speak a little bit to the data.
And I'd love to have Dr. Colella come up too. I think that transportation is a student-facing position. We have 1,600 students that ride the bus. Those students are students on IEPs. We also have a lot of students in DCF custody and homeless students who take transportation. Member Gately referenced $1 million, but over 3 years, it's been over $3.8 million in savings that transportation, and I can provide you with some of that data based on the work that they're doing with smaller transportation companies, training them, like you said. So
yeah, and we just since 21-22, we've seen a 63% increase in transportation for special education and 150% increase for DCF homeless. And as I'm sure Member Castellanos can speak to, the DCF coordination of transportation, it's immediate, it's individual, and it takes coordination. There needs to be someone that's able to make that happen for that student as soon as they are placed somewhere. And it takes a person almost to be able to coordinate all of those different pieces. And we're working with 27 different vendors, 29 different districts, coordinating cost share, because they get their own contracts that we then have to abide by what their contract says. So that's where the funding gets a little bit difficult, because we can't say, oh, well, this is our rate when this other district has negotiated that. So that piece is really important. Another huge piece is the late bus pickup, the late routes. So when they arrive to school late or they're picking up students late, we're holding bus companies accountable for that. And the amount that we're getting back in a credit is basically equal to the salary of a person almost in a school year. Just holding the companies accountable, following up with the schools on when buses aren't coming, because it matters, because it's a related service for our special education students. They have to legally arrive to school on time, and we need to be making sure that we're able to hold them accountable for that so that we can. And I know it's still not perfect. We still have room to grow, but we right now the transportation manager is able to like go and actually work with the vendors to say like, this is what might happen on a bus. Like, you know, there's not like an extensive training. You don't go to school for this. Like they're learning about this as they go. And for our specialized programs, we're doing a great job keeping a lot of kids in district, but they need support on the bus, and we need people who are able to go out and train and check in on that and make sure that our students are safe on the bus.
Great. I'm just going to add that it's worth noting the unique role that transportation plays in school finance. And Mr. McHugh, maybe you can, speak to this to confirm it. But the transportation budget doesn't count towards net school spending. So this is the money that we're saving by getting better performance from our transportation vendors is really important from the city's perspective, because it's not Chapter 70 funding. It also means that savings in this department is not creating Chapter 70 funding that's available, because it doesn't count towards net school spending. Is that?
Yes, that's correct. Transportation, when we do the state report every year, we put it in, but it's not eligible towards the net school spending, so they're not giving us the dollars really for that period. So it's like basically funding it. Everything else in the budget we put in our budget counts towards net school spending, except for that. So it's an interesting, because it's supposed to be, it's an unfunded mandate. Actually, we were supposed to get 100% reimbursement for that, but since I've been doing this position, it's never been funded. So since it's supposed to get funding, they don't count it, because it's like a reimbursement in essence, but we're not getting it. So they should reverse it, but they don't. So that the mayor's correct that it's really, it does help the overall budget picture, but it doesn't affect how we look at Chapter 70 funding and net school spending.
So, I would just add that I recognize this is a very challenging budget year, and when things are challenging, it is really hard when we get into the situations where we're being forced to sort of pit positions and departments against one another. It's hard for everyone, for most, especially the folks whose positions we're talking about. That's hard for those individuals at any level. It's hard for our community because these are hard decisions, and we're not always going to agree, obviously. It's hard. I know it's hard for my colleagues on the school committee. There are real needs around the district that are going to go unmet in this budget. Yep. And I fully acknowledge that, and will always push to try to fix that in the long run. I think we all like to work together to try to make that case, and we'll continue to do that. I do think it's important that we are putting forward a budget in which the folks who are on the front lines are not being cut alone. I think that it is really important. I know that are values that we all have. I know that's values that Dr. Cullen has shared from the beginning, and I think what I have seen is cuts and sacrifices across the board, and we've seen that in what the superintendent has put forward, and I think even further in the response that she and her team put forward in response to the feedback that we received in the weeks leading up to this budget, which I appreciate. So I do think it is the case that the administration is experiencing these cuts as well. I just want to say that I understand the interest in wanting to explore different ideas. I personally also remember the issues that we've had with education. There was a stretch during the pandemic where we just stopped busing our special education students. Incredibly painful time for those families. And I have been in some of those meetings with the vendors, particularly the big one, because of our frustration there, and have seen the progress that department has made in diversifying those contracts. And also the continuing increase in need for not just special education, but also McKinney-Vento and the children involved in Department of Children and Families. And I see it having an impact on learning, in that we have seen students experience tardiness and even attendance issues with respect to transportation. And we know that that is a big priority of us, addressing transportation. Even unfortunately, in some instances, in safety. And there unfortunately every now and then are these kind of crises of miscommunications, and we want to have a team that can respond to those crises. So for that reason, I intend to vote no on this secondary motion. I have Member Castellanos and Member Gately. Yep.
I'm remiss not to mention the McKinney-Vento position, the liaison. I think that's someone who plays a critical role in some of the savings you mentioned, because the coordination that the McKinney-Vento Act position, that role has been significant. And the person who does that work should get credit for what you just stated. Not to say Deputy Aloof, but the McKinney-Vento, that position has played a significant role in the success of transportation. So when we talked about Department of Children and Family, how you guys mentioned that's like a lot of like the deep coordination, that position, who's not an admin like under the transportation tab, has been phenomenal. So that is something to bring to the table when we're talking about this, because the McKinney-Vento position itself it's done without getting credit for it. So I'm going to put that on the table. So when we were talking about this recommendation, that was explored too, just to let you know.
Thank you.
So that was tough. Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry.
Thank you. Member Gately and then Member Hughes-McGrath. Yep.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but there is a director
Of transportation?
for the, let me find my paper. I've done my research. So, there's a director for the homeless liaison. I stand corrected. How much money did you say? Not $1 million, but
3.8, but some of it does come down to McKinney-Vento, regular ed transportation, the penalties that Dr. Colella spoke about, outside sped contract renewals with different vendors.
and
3.8.
How much will we save if we cut that position?
I can't. Oh, 99,000, that's how much.
99,374.
Okay. So, millions to 99, okay.
Member Hughes-McGrath.
So I just had a question in regards to the MKB liaison. Who does the DCF bids for transportation? Is it the MKB liaison?
So who does the bids with DCF for the MKB department? Is it the transportation department?
The transportation
So I guess
department.
that's my question, because I'm curious, because other districts, usually it's typically the MKB liaison that supports the DCF bids. They understand DCF, they're able to work with them, so I guess I'm
sorry, do you mean the bid meetings or the
bid meetings,
Oh, the
yes.
bid meetings, no, that's the
liaisons
the
do that?
liaison,
Okay.
yes, but then when the transportation piece comes
They work
in
collaboration. Is that-
yes, but
okay.
it's largely the transportation department who then takes on, setting up that roles, but yeah, absolutely, they work collaboratively together with
And then
that.
in the district as a whole, how many students or percentage do we have in terms of MKB qualifications?
So I have that right, yeah, sorry. It's 460. We have, 460 total in homeless and DCF.
Okay, and how many students do we have under special education?
It's over 1,600.
Okay. So the only reason why I ask regarding MKB is because there's districts that are smaller in size that the MKB liaison supports that level of transportation as well. So, you know, for 460 students, that's the reason why I was asking is there, and again, kind of going back to collapsing some of those responsibilities in collaboration, knowing that, you know, transportation comes with a unique set of skills as well. But I do think that's something that we still need to consider. And, you know, listening to Kevin as well and the mayor, knowing that these monies aren't necessarily attached to Chapter 70 is something we also have to consider. But I do think I'll still stand firm that we have to really look at collapsing some of these positions to be able to support and make sure that we're equipped. Because I am worried about not only this budget year, but the following budget year. And what I don't want to create is a situation that we can't then recover from.
Any further discussion, questions? All right, so I'm gonna call for a roll, and this is on the secondary motion. This is on Member Castellanos' motion around the transportation manager, and then we can have any further discussion, and then the vote second would be on the main motion. So roll call on the transportation manager motion, please.
Database manager, I believe it is.
Database manager,
Member
yep.
Castellanos?
Yes.
Member Gately?
No.
Member Ortiz McGrath?
Yes.
Member Pena?
No.
Member Satterwhite?
Yes.
Member Smith?
Yes.
Mayor Nicholson?
No.
Yes.
Any further discussion on the main motion, the budget motion? Mr. McHugh?
We need to put those funds somewhere to balance out, to back out the budget. So if you ask for a recommendation, the teacher TBD line could be a spot to put those so we can evaluate and put that back.
I'd like to make a motion that we go back into the teacher.
Second.
All right, there's a motion made second. I would just point out that these are all projections. It is not clear that, because if it's coming out of transportation, that is then money that doesn't count towards net school spending.
That, well, is when we do the report, it won't count, but you're just reducing that overall cost. That money can be transferred to anything that's counts towards net school spending.
Right, but that would have to be a transfer, which would happen as we see.
Well, there's a
what's
motion
available
right
on the
now
lines.
we made passed the motion to reduce the budget by $99,374. So now that's still appropriation budget numbers, so it has to go somewhere to balance back our budget before you take a final vote on the budget.
Right, no, but my point is that by reducing the size of transportation, when we are running the reports around the net school spending compliance, that may or may not result in a change for what the city then would be transferring to the school department in order to maintain the 100% of net school spending.
I mean, it's going to be $99,000 difference out of, we're talking, $274 million budget. So, I mean, it's not, if you look at the percentage of that money, it's a very small, minute number. But it could change that, but.
Yeah, I don't disagree, Mr. McHugh, that it's not a big percentage of the budget, but that's the percentage of the budget that's currently on the table in terms of the motion. So there's the motion that was made and seconded to transfer the 99.5 to the teacher TBD line. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Member Castellanos?
Yes.
Member Gately?
I'm going to abstain.
Member Ortiz McGrath?
Yes.
Member Pena?
Yes.
Member Satterwhite?
Yes.
Member Smith?
Yes.
Mayor Nicholson?
No. Any further discussion on the budget? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Member Castellanos?
Yes.
Member Gately?
Yes.
Member Ortiz McGrath?
Yes.
Member Pena?
Yes.
Member Satterwhite?
Yes.
Member Smith?
Yes.
Mayor Nicholson?
Yes. All right, thank you so much. And again, thank you everyone who participated in the process. I know that there's a lot of tough decisions and more to do, and hopefully advocating for the enrollment drop smoothing out with respect to Chapter 70 funds, and we'll continue to have those
conversations.
Communications and information.
I think we'll
I think we're good for tonight.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Seeing no further business,
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thanks, everyone.
I'd like to meet with the school committee in the back room, please.
The cheesecake.
Yeah,
For the cheesecake, right?
for Wally's birthday.
I know.